there, viewers, and welcome back to the South Main Auto Channel. So we got this 04 Hyundai Sonata here. It's a V6, so it's going to be the 2.7 liter. It is here. The engine light is on, and to me it sounds like it's got a pretty nasty misfire. Got our vehicle info entered. I'm going to go in here and grab our codes. Definitely sounds like it has at least a single cylinder misfire. PICO 306. That's all we have. Okay, well that's all we need. Alright, well I went ahead and removed the engine cover here for us, just doing a visual inspection. It does have aftermarket wires on it. It is a 3-coil system. Nothing really jumps right out to me. So it's going to be 2, 4, 6 and 1, 3, and 5 in the back. Just like that Kia we did the other day. And oddly enough, that one had a P0306 in it too. I think we're going to grab our PICO. Before we touch anything, I'd like to just run down these spark plugs and see if we can get an idea as to what type of misfire we have. In the sense that, you know, are we dealing with, you know, loss of spark, you know, lean condition, or something. So I think this is the most non-invasive test. And the only reason I say that is, you know, currently it's misfiring real bad. You know, but, you know, if we go through and we start, you know, touching something, now all of a sudden our misfire's gone, you wonder what you did. I think we can just use the secondary pickup here. Hopefully it doesn't get a lot of interference. I see some of these wires are zip tied together, the spark plug wires. You know, hopefully we can just go down through and get a look at the secondary waveforms to give us some sort of direction. Maybe we'll just see, you know, it could be just a bad coil, but at least we're going to know right off the bat where the problem's present, you know, kind of what's going on. We'll get our scope opened up here. I'm using their new beta software. It's got a few features on it that are pretty handy. Like the fact that you can change your time basis and your voltage with the little arrows up here. Change your time basis, you can change your voltage right here without, you know, hitting the drop down menu. So I think that's pretty cool. Let's see, we need to select our probe. So we're going to come on here. We're going to pick out a secondary ignition probe. We may need to invert it. I'm not sure which is the negative firing side here. We'll just bump it up like on a, probably a 20 kilovolt scale. We will take and we'll turn the trigger on here. Catch our KV spike with that. It should be good. Let me go ahead and start this thing up. So I'll show you the method I'm going to use for, you know, for testing. I don't know if you guys can hear that misfire or not. Let's give her a little throttle here. Sometimes I know the camera doesn't pick it up real well. Maybe we can perhaps see it in the exhaust pipe here. Perhaps hear it better yet. Yeah, probably not. Some of these things got quite a few exhaust leaks. But you can see the hose kind of, you know, fluttering along there. At any rate, we're going to take the secondary probe. We're just going to stick it, secondary probe, stick it right on top of the spark plug wire here. We should produce a good waveform, or a usable one. It looks like we are. So I'll get you guys set up. I'll let you know which cylinder I'm doing. We're on 2, 4, 6. Probably not real concerned with anything going on in the back quite yet. Maybe not. I mean, it is a waste spark system. We'll see what we see here on the front first. One thing I want to do here, in an effort to make the screen not flicker, let's see if this helps. I can't see any difference in my eyes. We're going to change it to a 48 hertz refresh rate. The only option it gives me. I know sometimes when we're recording the computer screen here, I just went in the help section and seen how to change the refresh rate. So we'll see if that works. Okay, back in business. Looking for a trigger. Let's go on the number 2 cylinder, one that is supposedly not misfiring. That's pretty typical, I would say. Looks like we've got good burn time. I don't know if our scales are accurate as far as using this probe. It's showing about 15,000 kV there. I'm going to go right down to the coil, so I'm going to stick the probe right next to the coil on that plug wire, and you can see the difference there. Alright, I'll go back to spark plug. So that's on the wire itself. This is on top of the spark plug boot. So a little bit more insulated. So we're going to get some different readings. Let's just, for the heck of it, let's have a look at our burn time. Oops. Which is usually, on average, I think about 2.5 milliseconds. We'll just kind of get a kind of a baseline here on a cylinder that's actually working well. So yeah, about 2 milliseconds. I think 1.5 to 2. I'm pretty sure that's a pretty normal spec. We'll get this running again. Hopefully we don't pick up a lot of noise here. This is cylinder number 4. And we are picking up a little bit. Let me move that wire. There's a spark plug wire right next to it. I'm going to move it. Pick it up out of the holder. There we go. So I would say number 4, appears to look pretty well. I'm going to go down to number 6 again. We're right next to another wire. Is our misfire gone? Just a minute. Oh, sounds like we still have a misfire. Alright, I'm getting a little bit of interference here. Let me show you the zip tie. We're going to cut this zip tie. I can't tell for what cylinder we're picking up. There's a zip tie on this wire. I'm going to snip that. I'm going to move number 4 out of the way. Kind of set that to the side here. Always like playing roulette, touching wires. So this way here, hopefully we get a better signal. It is crossing a couple down here on the coil. I hate touching old wires. You just know you're going to get it. Alright, let's go back on number 6 here. Kind of got to sneak down on the wire a little bit to get, there we go. Alright, so just an observation, I'm going to try, so I'm right smack on top of the plug boot. It's kind of peculiar because our burn line is going right straight down. I'm going to move back to cylinder number 4. So that's cylinder number 4. So you can see how your burn line comes down, and then it right at the end when the flame goes out, you've got that little kick right there. That's usually an indicator of combustion. Go back to number 6, and you can see how we just have a really even sloping down line. All right, and then a really low kV spike. I'm gonna go back to cylinder number 2. Get a good read on it here. So that's cylinder number 2. Much higher kV. Appears to be, a combustion event. I'll pop back to number 6. So this is our misfiring cylinder. Let me see if I can give it some throttle snaps. Hang on. I had to open it to go there for a minute. Let's see. So that's cylinder number 6. And I'll tell you my thoughts on that right now, I guess. When I look at that and I don't see any turbulence on the burn line, let's see if we can just get a measurement on it. Should probably be about the same. Yeah, so we're about 2 milliseconds. Low kV, that downward slope. My guess is it's sparking outside the cylinder. So we obviously have a firing event. So that's cylinder number 4. That's cylinder number 2. That's cylinder number 6. I don't know if you guys are picking up on the subtle difference there. Either that or we have a really lean cylinder, but usually a lean cylinder will result in a really high kV spike. It's very difficult to fire in a lean cylinder. And here we are back on number 4. Now we're back on number 6. And again, number 4. And then number 6. All right, I'm going to see if I can give it some throttle snaps here, or at least raise the RPM. That's cylinder number 6. At an elevated RPM. Here's cylinder number 4. Let me bump our scale up here just a little bit. So that's cylinder 4. I'll raise the RPM. Alright, that's number 4. That's number 6. That's our misfiring cylinder. Get on number 2 here for you. This is number 2. This is number 6. Alright, yeah, so that's cylinder number 6. Alright, I think it's time, now that we've gathered some data, to take a look. I think I misspoke. Let me shut this car off. Which I have a tendency to do time to time. The rapid downward slope on the KV firing line. I think I said that it's an indicator of a lean cylinder. It's an indicator of a rich cylinder. A lean cylinder, usually higher KV, you know, rapid upward spike. Right? I always tend to get them mixed up, yes, because it's harder to fire. So usually you have, you know, a high KV spike, a short burn time. A rich cylinder is more conductive. You know, electricity flows across it easier. You know, it's a liquid matter. It's easier to ionize the spark plug, I guess. I'm not a scientist or a professional in secondary waveforms. But what we see there, you know, that low KV, you know, we got burned, you know, obviously there's a spark gap being jumped, but we don't see any turbulence on that burn, on the burn line. So plus it's, you know, low voltage. I suspect we have spark occurring outside the cylinder. These are long tube spark plug wires. I hope I didn't just confuse and mix up everything, but at any rate, that's what I'm going with. So I'm curious to see if we pull these out, if we have, you know, spark plug tubes full of oil and whatnot. And I guess, you know, at this point, you know, hindsight's always 20/20. We always could have said, well, we could have started with, you know, visual inspection. Why don't we just, you know, it's misfiring, why not just throw plugs and wires on it? Well, fact is we have spark, and we have spark occurring. So we know that now. Now we can touch stuff, and we know what we had. So I say, let me just move my wires out of the way here. We'll roll over there and we'll take a look and see if we can identify anything that's happening or identify what's happening. Like I say, we'll see if, oh, that wire wasn't even tight. So number 2 is dry. It's kind of half expected to see. That one's not even tight. That's number 4. That one's dry. Here's our problem cylinder. That one is tight. Haha. It is not full of oil, but I think we have some evidence as to what is happening. I don't see it on any of these wires. Let me show you what we have here. I may be wrong, but it sure looks like our problem. That, folks, is tracking, or at least it appears to be. Let's I'll tell you what, I wonder if we can just stick these wires back in, which, oh, there it goes. Well, they don't really click very well. That's why those ones were kind of loose. Let's stick that in there. Let's get number 6 back in there. I wonder if we can fire it up. What I think it's, oh crap. What I think it's doing, I don't know if we can look down in that plug well. I assume it's shooting right out the side of this plug boot because we can see the tracking there. And I assume it's shooting right to the side of the head, which would make sense with what we're seeing on the secondary graph. Let's grab a flashlight here. Let's see if we can see down in that hole. Sometimes you'll see tracking right on the side of the head, but I can't really say anything definitive. Let's see, it'd be in that position, so it would be on the bottom side. Well, I can't say is that I really see a burn mark on the side of the head. So we'll go with our original plan. We'll just stick that in there lightly so hopefully it doesn't get stuck. Whoa! Alright, let's see here. Fire this little guy up. Alright, it still sounds like it is misfiring. Ah, I hate touching these. I'm gonna get it. Oh yeah. How about that? The old proof is in the pudding there. Who wants to touch that? So there it is. That's about as simple as a diagnosis as you can get. You can see it happening right down there through this tube seal. So if you can envision what this is doing, you know, when it's hooked to the spark plug, you know, we got no change because the spark is going to take the easiest path to ground. That's given us our burn time. You know, it's given us, I don't even think this is number 6, but it's given us, you know, low kV reading because it doesn't take much effort to fire this plug. Plus, we're not seeing any turbulence on the firing line because the firing is happening outside the cylinder. But I tell you what, just for the sake of experiment, we should be able to temporarily fix this, so to speak, with a little bit of tape. Obviously this thing is going to need some wires, and we'll leave that one right out of our way for the time being. We'll check with the customer here. Oh, I kind of half thought it might be shooting up from the bottom of the plug and up and around, but it appears that it has migrated right straight through the side. It stinks. It smells like burning electrical here. What we'll do, like I say, just for the sake of experiment, we'll grab a little bit of electrical tape here, see if we can insulate it enough to get the spark to fire where it belongs, back on the spark plug. I don't know if this will insulate it enough or not, hopefully. Like I say, temporary fix at best. It does have quite a bit of tracking down inside the plug boot here, so hopefully it doesn't just shoot down the side of the spark plug or something. There we go. That should be enough. we'll get our readings again. I'll leave that off. We'll go ahead and start it up here, see what it sounds like. Well, it sounds smoother. Not coming out the side anymore. I can hear the engine misfire a little bit. Let's look at the waveform, see if that looks any different. Get that playing. Oh, get my ground hooked back up on the battery here. Makes an accidental spark. That is number 6. I'm pretty sure you guys can see the difference, or remember the difference. You can see where we're actually burning now inside the cylinder. Let me go ahead and give it some throttle. I gotta say, that looks a whole lot better than it did. Come back down here. So it's number 4. It's kind of as a reference. So there's number 4. There's number 6. I'll jump back on number 2. 2, 4, and 6 look almost identical now. Just for the heck of it, for the sake of experiment, I wonder if we can create a lean condition here. I'll keep the, see if I can get the probe stuck here. Get it wedged somewhere. There we go, that is the, where are we on? We're on the number 2 cylinder. All right, let's change our scale here a little bit because I'm a little bit more onto the wire. I'm going to go ahead and create a lean condition in this cylinder. We'll see if we can see the effects of it. I'm going to just unplug the injector. If I get it unplugged. Okay, that is with the injector unplugged. Pretty indecisive on that, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to go ahead and plug it back in. Well, we really have to scrutinize that, I think, in order to be able to tell. It's pretty hard for me to get a steady read on this probe here. I do, however, feel that it led us in the correct direction for the other misfire. Back on cylinder 6 here. Getting a lot of interference. Let's look at your classic open. So here's the number 2 cylinder, and that is completely open. Spark plug wire pulled out of the hole. Excessively high kV. The energy has no place to go. And this is a very common looking waveform for an open plug wire, so we can represent that. I'll get you one here. That is spark occurring outside the cylinder. Of course, we've already seen this, so I just got to go in right to a valve cover bolt, and we just see our burn line here is very inactive. Of course, it's jumping quite a bit of a bigger gap than our number 6 was there initially. So that's spark occurring outside the cylinder. That's a dead open. And this here is spark occurring inside the cylinder. So Something you gotta experiment with. I tell you, it's one of my weak points, I'll be honest with you. Alright guys, I guess we'll leave it at that for right now. Secondary ignition is something we should come and revisit a little bit more. It is one of my huge weak areas, as I've mentioned, you know, in the past when we've gone to look at it. Open plug wires, I got them nailed. They're easy to diagnose. You know, there's guys that can look at that and, I mean, they can tell you what color underwear you wore in the morning, but I can't. I can't. It's just the bottom line. I've tried multiple probes, different pickups, and, you know, I've had a hard time, you know, getting a waveform. You know, this one here, spark current outside the cylinder. Yeah, we nailed that one, you know, whether luck or not, you know, we got it in comparing the different cylinders. Seeing that waveform by itself, you know, seeing that downward slope, you know, is it a rich condition? Is it, you know, spark occurring outside the cylinder? Sometimes I think the only way to decipher between that is, you know, with, you know, perhaps with throttle snaps, spark occurring outside the cylinder is a pretty easy chore for the coil. So I think your pattern stays relatively the same through the entire RPM range. Your peak kV doesn't go up, the burn time, everything kind of stays the same. I don't know if this is different on a, you know, a distributor system versus a coil near plug versus a waste spark. You know, there's always all these variables, particularly, you know, using, you know, the probe or a capacitive pickup. You know, where is it on the wire? You know, the further down the wire you go, the more resistance you have. You know, does that change your waveform? I believe it does, because when we go next to the coil, you know, we're reading big numbers, perhaps more detail. You know, maybe we should have done that. But then again, we're also right next to a bunch of other wires there too. We get a lot of noise. So there's a lot of variables. There is some good videos on the TST website or the TST YouTube page. I can't remember who did, I don't know if it was Morton, I think, did a secondary ignition video. It's kind of long. It's a couple hours long. It's got some good info in there. There's other guys out there that do secondary stuff that probably understand it a lot better than I do. I think probably the cleanest way to look at secondary is through the primary. Primary always reflects secondary. On a waste spark system, I would actually have to experiment with that. That is something I haven't done yet, or enough of to make some definitive statements about it. So primary voltage is fantastic for looking at secondary, simply because primary reflects secondary, and perhaps it's a steadier way to look at it and not get interference. I don't know. Again, like I said, I would like to revisit secondary ignition again sometime, secondary versus primary, but not being schooled or a scientist or a professional. It's I just do it as I go. So you guys are going to learn along with me. And that's that. So I got to recommend this lady basic ignition tune-up. I think is all she's going to be in for. Plugs and wires, your typical misfire. But we got to play around. We didn't do any guessing, and our hypothesis was correct. So that's great. Anyhow, why don't you guys make a good decision and click the subscribe button if you haven't done that. Check us out on Google Plus and Facebook if you want to connect with us socially there. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.